Hey Crafty Peeps! I am looking forward to today's video because it has been highly requested, and that is a bow tutorial. And not just one bow, but 7 different ways to tie or make bows. And so I did the talking while I was recording, so I apologize if there's weird background noises, but I think for the most part it works out okay. Just a little bit of a fan as it's still super hot where I live. Anyhow, I really hope that these will help you out. I will leave a timestamp in the description so that you will know when each bow starts. So that will be easy to refer back to or skip to the bow that you're hoping to see. All right, let's get to that. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to showing you more videos this holiday season. Okay, so for this bow, and these kind of bows, this is just a quick, simple bow. If you're right-handed and you're gonna pinch with your right hand, have your spool on your left side. Okay, so what I do, kind of figure out about how much I want my loop, like how big, and then I guess at my tail. Okay, and then just like you would tie your shoes, you're gonna wrap it around, and then you're gonna feed the other loop through and pull. Okay, pull tight. Now you see it kind of looks eh. So what you're gonna do now is just pull your tails until you get your loops to be how big you want and even. So you just keep pulling, and then if you want it bigger, you can just pull like this. So until you get your bow just like you like it. Just like that. Okay. So if I'm happy with that, I'll go down here, cut my tail the same. Or if you want shorter tails, and then that's just your little easy peasy bow. You want to add a little bow. I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time with a bigger, wider ribbon. Same concept. So always have my bigger part or my spool, my roll, whatever, on my left. Okay, again, I'm going to pinch about where I want. This one's going to be a little bit different because we've got it wider. So I'm just going to kind of gather it in like that. Okay, pinch with my right. And then as I'm going, I kind of just, instead of just being sloppy and doing that, I try to keep my ribbon nice and flat as I'm working. Okay, so see, I go like that, and then when I'm feeding it through, again, I'm gonna just try to keep it as flat as I can, and I'm gonna pull it through. That's okay, looks funky, right? No problem, because all you're gonna do is pull your bow through your loop, and you're just gonna pull. Okay, if they're not even, no problem. I'm gonna pull this one, pull it a little more. Okay, now I'm gonna fluff it a little bit, see if it's equal, see if it's the size I want. I'm pretty particular about my bows. I'll play with them, see how it kind of folds in a little bit there. I'll just maybe turn it so that it lays a little flatter. Maybe if I'm being super picky, maybe I'll even pull this a little. You know, you can kind of twist. So this ribbon doesn't have wire. So wire ribbon works a little differently. It's easier to kind of poof the sides, but it's a little harder to tie with, okay? So I'm going to cut this, and now this one I'm gonna dovetail. And so the way you dovetail is you're gonna fold it in half, you're gonna find the center of your ribbon, and then you're gonna cut to the corner, okay? So make sure you're going from the folded side to the corner of the outside. So you just go like this, and then that gives you your dovetail. So again, you're going from your folded side to your outside. And of course I don't do it right because I'm recording. And it's okay if they're not the same length. Sometimes I kind of like one longer than the other. Okay, so there is this bow both ways with a small ribbon and a wider ribbon. And you can dovetail these little ones too, but I find that a little more difficult. So I'm going to take a bunch of different patterns and some matching solid colors. And this bow has no name. Maybe you guys can name it. Okay, so this is just something, I don't know, I come up with things. Sometimes I'm like, what would happen if I did this? And then that's how I come up with those. Okay, so this one I'm gonna think about how big I want my loop. And so I think I want it about this big. And then I'm gonna pinch right there, okay? Then I'm gonna decide about how big I want my tail. So I'm thinking about here. You always wanna go longer than you think because you can always cut it shorter, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. Okay, let's see how long that was. Just out of curiosity. So that was about 17 inches. But you can do any size you want. Okay, so now I'm going to cut that, all of mine the same length. This ribbon that Dollar Tree came out with this year, this burlap, oh, it is so pretty. I love burnt orange. I think burnt orange is beautiful. Okay, get those out of the way. So also, to tell you, I have a ribbon addiction. I love ribbon. I want to make sure I always have what I'm looking for. And so one thing to keep in mind is to, one, always check the ribbon out after the holiday. I got some amazing ribbon at Walmart last year after Thanksgiving at some point. I don't remember exactly when. And I'm going to show it to you. But it is, let's see, I think this was one of them. It's normally $2.34, which is a really, really good price anyway. But it was 90% off. So I got it for $2 or 23 cents. I mean, seriously, 23 cents. Also keep in mind that Dollar Tree ribbon is only 9 feet long, 3 yards. So is this Walmart one. So sometimes you're thinking, well, I could get a whole roll at Dollar Tree. I don't want to spend, you know, $3 or $4 at Michael's, but you're also going to get 3 times as much. So keep that in mind. And then, like today, I went to Hobby Lobby and there were 50% off. And they do that a lot. I want to say like every other week, or at least once a month, I think they're 50% off. And so I'll go and get those. And then again, after the holiday, they'll go to 80. I think they go 66%, and then I think they go 80 and then 90. I could be wrong on that. But I get a lot of ribbon during those times too. So clearance ribbon, and then ribbon, and Michael's and Joann's have 50% off their ribbons too. So just be on the lookout, grab them when they're a good price. Okay, so here is the color scheme that I'm going with. Okay, so again, I'm going to try to remember where that was that I was. Okay, so I'm going to fold it, looks like about in a third. Okay, I go in and then out and pinch. Okay, then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go in, out, pinch. And then I'm going to pinch those together. I'm going to take a these. And if it's hard for you to manipulate while you're trying to pinch another one, you can always put a dot of glue, hot glue right there, and then that will be helpful. If you don't have to worry about doing that. Okay, let's see. Okay, pinch. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing, because I know I'm holding and pinching and again, it doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't, your loops don't have to be exactly the same, okay? Alright. Now, you could do a bunch more depending how big you want your bow. This is probably where I'll stop at least and get this part done. Just use some sort of twine. You can use a pipe cleaner, you can use some wire, whatever you like to use. Okay. And then I'm just going to tie that center. Tie that tight. Around one more time and around one more time, just to get that nice and secure. Okay, so this is where you would kind of fluff it. So I'm feeling like my bow's up here a little bit long for the look. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, what did we say, 17 inches was the first one. This is, you guys, this is how I make bows. I'm just like so random. I'll just be like, I don't like this part of this bow, or let's add this, let's add that. Oh, by the way, that was 12 inches. Okay. So I'm going to make a smaller loop now. With these two. So you can just keep playing with it till it gets to, let's flip that, till it gets to like the fluffiness and what you like. But as you see, these are a little smaller. So now I can kind of go in like this, and it just kind of gives it a little bit more dimension. Alright, you know what I'm going to do with this bow is I'm going to make a bunch of these. And I've seen some other DIYers that do a whole like really cool thing over their doorway, like their front door, and it's just like it goes like around the top and then down, and then it has all these bows and frillies, and so I bought a ton of this ribbon to do that. Okay, I'm gonna add that. Flip that. I'm gonna add that to the center. Find my string, tie that, okay. Oh, see, and that's one of the things that can happen if you're if you pull too tight, your little thing won't come out, but that's okay, because I'm gonna just, we're gonna cheat here. I'm just gonna put a little dab of glue where it popped out. A lot of people ask about this tool. I talked about it in my last video. These come in a pack of 2 at Dollar Tree. I use this tip to hold hot glue so I don't burn myself. And then when you just kind of need to make a little hole or poke, you know, something, this end, these things are great. I use this tool all the time. Okay. So now I'm going to fluff And by the way, this one only works if your ribbon is wired. So it's got to have that wiry ribbon, otherwise it'll fall flat. Okay, and then I'm going to take, and again, I don't mind that these are different lengths, and now I'm going to dovetail each of these. So, fall. I decorated for fall early this year in September. I normally wait until November, and I was just itching for fall and hoping I could summons the cool weather, but here we are at the end of September and it did not work because where I live in Northern California, it is 100 degrees today, and that is rather ridiculous considering October is coming, but it's not like it's a surprise because I've lived here my whole life, so I know it gets hot. There's times I've trick-or-treated with the kids in a t-shirt or a tank top because it's still hot. And then there's been other times it's been raining and it's been cold, so it's kind of a gamble what our fall is even going to look like. And then the last couple of years, and it'll be cold all winter, and by cold I mean like 40s, 50s. And then in February we'll have like some crazy 80-degree weather day, and you're just like, what? All right, so this is the bow so far. Okay, and then what I would do for the center is I would probably tie one of the bows like we did in the beginning and cover that area, or like in this case I'm going to take one of these Dollar Tree pumpkins, and I'm just going to clip it in here and just kind of give it a fun little, and just kind of spread this out until, and it depends what your project is, that you're putting this on. Maybe you don't want everything flipped around. But this is just one bow that I kind of came up with. Again, it doesn't have a name, but I like to put it at the top of some of my signs or at the bottom of a wreath. So there it is, another ribbon. All right, now for the next one. Okay, so here is another ribbon that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and this one was actually clearanced for 99 cents, and it's normally $3.99, so 75% off. And it's just cute little burlap pumpkins. Sorry if I did that wrong way. Okay, so when I have ribbon like this, that's one-sided, I don't typically like to tie it like this because then you're not going to see the pattern. So what I'll do, now let me just show you that real quick. See, now this one's going to mess me up because it's on the wrong side, so I got to show you guys the opposite of my last method. But just to give you an idea, okay, of what it would look like. So see, you're gonna have one side, you're gonna have just one side like that, okay? But I'm just gonna cut this because I wanna show you some of that. If you're up for it, you can make this work, okay? And this is how you're gonna do it, okay? You have to go around, so what you do when you're pinching it, normally you're gonna, let's see, yeah. So normally your pattern's gonna be like this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna twist it and make your pattern go on the opposite side, because you don't really care if your middle doesn't have the pattern. And then now when you feed this through, your pattern will be on both sides. Okay, so you just have to do some twisting to make it work. You can see now it's going to try to, so you gotta just keep twisting And the nice thing about this is if you're using it on like a sign or on something, when you glue it, you can see it kind of gets a little funky, but it's okay because when you glue it, sometimes I'll even just put a little dot of glue like right here so that this stays down just like I want it. But that's how you're going to do it if your pattern is only on one side. So you can make it work, and that doesn't look bad with it going the other way. Okay, but if that's difficult or you just want it a little bit different of a look, another thing I'll do is I'll decide how big of a bow I want. So maybe I just want a little bow, okay, about that big. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dot of glue like that, okay, and then I will take my twine. I actually typically do this more on bigger ribbons that I have, but this was just the one that caught my eye. So I will tie this. See, it's starting to go crazy, so just kind of pull it towards the middle and then pull tight, okay? And you can either just kind of do a bow like this, where these little pieces of twine are your legs, or you can just cut this off, or you can make tails this way. So what I do is I fold it like this, and I just kind of make it into a point like that, okay? And then this is kind of like the cheater bow if you have a really hard time tying, maybe you have arthritis in your hands, or you're just a fumbly fingers type. This is like a way you can cheat on your bow, okay? So I'm just kind of doing it like this. Okay, and then I'm going to, hopefully this isn't too complicated. I do these so often that they're not complicated for me, but maybe it looks funky to you. And I'm just folding that corner back like so. Don't burn yourself. Again, this is where you can decide if you like these or not. So let's just say we don't. Then I will just cut those short. Now all we're gonna do, actually just to make it easier, well no, I kind of just like you can dovetail if you want. I'm just gonna do the diagonal. I'm just gonna give a little glue and just glue it, okay? And now you have a bow like that. So this is great for people, again, that maybe you have arthritis or something that prevents you from, tying and doing that. Or, sometimes that's just, I know a lot of people nowadays learn to tie their shoes with 2 loops and then just tying them. But that's not how I learned to do it. So here are 2 ways to do that with one-sided fabric. Okay, sometimes you just want something small, maybe just more neutral, or maybe you want something to finish off, like I mentioned the other one where you want something in the center. So this is just a quick and easy, if I can find where, there it is. Okay, so this one, you're going to put it on your 3rd finger. I mean, I guess you could put it on this finger, but, and you're gonna hold, this is gonna be your tail, okay? And depending on how big you want it or how small, how big your fingers are gonna go. So I'm gonna kind of want it this way. This is my glue gun scar from a week ago when I totally burnt myself. Okay, and then you're just gonna go around however many times you want. I'm gonna go 5 times, okay? And then make your tail on this side. And then you're gonna need a center or a thing to tie it up. Okay, then you're going to feed your tie for the center through like this, okay? And then you're gonna pull it off of your fingers, and you're just gonna kind of find the center and just tie this one off. And then find your other little, I usually just kind of pull on my tails, and there you go. You just kind of have a little simple, easy little rustic bow. And you, if you want to kind of make these a little more equal, or maybe like this one, you got one that's really long, just cut it so it doesn't look too weird. And there you go. You've got this little bow that, again, you can add to the center, or maybe that's all you want to add, or you can take something like this, like a little bow. I would cut these tails, but just for reference. This makes a cute little farmhouse bow. If you were to add it to the center like that, again, I would cut these tails, but that would look super. In fact, I'm just going to do that because I think this is cute. Just hold that down for a sec. Look at how cute that is. That is the perfect little addition to your farmhouse. I was gonna say farmhouse decor. Cute little ribbon. And there you go. Okay, for the next one. So this one again is gonna work better with wire ribbon. Okay, so on this one, you're gonna take your ribbon and you're gonna fold it over, okay? So you want your print on the outside. Then you're gonna fold it over again. Fold it over again. So every time you fold it over, think about how many loops do you want. Do you want 2 loops? Do you want 3? Do you want 4? So the more loops, the more full. So that first one that I did had 5 ribbons, so it was like a 5 loop, and then the 2 loops. So it was a little fuller. So I'm gonna do 2 for you. So I'm gonna do a 2 and a 3. So you know I've got 2 if you lost count. And then over here I only have 1 because this is really kind of like a tail. So I'm gonna go 1 more time over, like this, okay? Okay, and then you're gonna fold it in half so you can find your center, okay? Once again, I just use twine, but you can use what works best for you. Okay, and then I'm going to do that same technique where I fold it up and then back. Okay, this ribbon is like really stiff. It's a very weird texture. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Very weird texture, but I love the print. I unfortunately don't know where I got it. I do not remember. It looks like the tag fell off of it. Okay, and now I'm going to pull my loops out and away from each other. Okay, and now I've got 2 loops. I can fluff them how I like. Pull this down. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same. This down, my little tail, pull these apart, fluff, fluff, this is how it ends up looking. It's just kind of a simple flatter bow. I mean, you really can poof these as much as you want. Like, you can have it really full. Like this. Okay, so one thing that I'm not a big fan of with this particular bow is the tails. They're short making them this way. So one thing you can do is don't pull this inner one out. Just leave it inside that one loop, okay? Just like that. Now since this one's visible, there's not really anywhere you can shove it. What I do is I will fold it like this. Actually, I'm going to cut this because I don't want this long. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it around the center, and this is just going to give it a nice, pretty center. You see how it gave it a nice little center? And then I'll just glue it. Okay, don't burn yourself. Now this is another one where you could add tails like I did on, which one was that? Oh, this one where I added the tails to the back like this. That is something you can do with this kind of a bow, and I have done that many times. Okay, so now you have a bow that looks like this. And again, you can kind of have it just be a little bit of a flatter bow. And now that I'm looking at it, it's a little off. The side's shorter than that, but oh well. Or you can really fluff it, depending on your style or where it's going. On a wreath, I would fluff it a lot more. On a sign, I would have it on the flatter side. And there you go. Again, you could, you know, add the tail to it if you want tails. Okay, now I'm going to make this in a bigger version. Okay, so okay, I'm going to fold it over. Okay, we're going to count. So that's 1. Okay. And that's 2. That's 3, so that means right now we have 3 loops. Keep going. This takes a lot of ribbon to make these. And that's 4. Okay. And then I just got to give it its tail. So again, that little tail. Okay. Cut this ahead of time this time. Okay. Again, you're gonna find your center, folding it in half. Okay. Telling you, this is the weirdest ribbon. It just feels weird. Okay. I'll make sure I got the center again because that last one was off a little bit and it was bugging me. Yeah, I could tell this one looked a little off too. Alright, super tighten it. Okay, that looks good. When things are off, does it drive you nuts? Like, there's certain things I'm totally like, oh, that's good enough. And then there's other things where it will drive me crazy I'll even just be like, oh my gosh, it's not centered, or it's, you know. Okay. That didn't seem very tight. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing, but now we got a bunch of loops. Pull one out, pull one out, keep pulling. Okay. Do this on the other side. Pull, pull, pull. And I'm going to leave the little tail in there because I don't want it. Okay, and now I am just going to fluff these. So I don't know if you can hear that plate in the background. There is a huge fire about, gosh, maybe only 10 miles from me, maybe 15. But it's kind of on the outskirts of town and is unlikely to come into town. So that was a fire plane dropping retardant on the fire. So hopefully by the time this video is published, that fire is good and in control. This little one is kind of peeking out. Again, I can put that around the middle, or I can cut it shorter so it's not showing. But anyhow, you just kind of play with these until you get the kind of fluff you like. Everyone's different. I'm not big on the big over-the-top bows. I like to keep mine a little more simple. I do like to use a lot of different ribbons though. In one, like that very first one, that's always fun when I have a bunch of different patterns. So you saw the first way I did it, it was more like a fan, and then this way it looks more like those bows you put on top of like presents. Okay, and then if you don't like this little, like I said, just cut it, and I don't like it, so I'm just going to cut it short so you won't see it because it'll be in the back. And now you've got your bow that kind of, like I said, looks, you just keep fluffing. These are the bows that I'm probably the worst at because they're just really not my style. I use them sometimes. I swear I'm just going to keep fussing with it until I like it. I just like mine a little flatter, but I know that this is very popular. Okay, so there you've got kind of that bow. Again, this way is a little more my style, just to kind of have it like a bow, like a bow, like a big bow you put in your hair. And again, I could do this if I wanted to cover that up and glue that. So that was just kind of two different ways to fluff it depending on your style. This is more my style. So I'm just gonna toss this around here. Again, just like that last one, because it's just the look I prefer. Try not to burn myself. Hold that for a second. Okay, so I have one more bow that I'm going to show you. I know that there are a little bit different, I know there's something out there called the messy bow. This is not that because I only use a few patterns and a few strips. Again, like I said, there's a little bit more over the top bows and there's a little bit more understated, and I'm a little bit more on the understated side than the big over the top side. But whenever I see other DIYers do those over the top ones, I think, oh my gosh, that looks so good, I should do that. But then I realize it doesn't really go with my style of DIY, so alright, so there's that one. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, on to the next and last one. Okay, so I like to do this kind of a bow when I have lots of different patterns, especially if something looks weird, if it's upside down, this works good. So what I'm going to do is kind of decide how big I want it. So because I'm just cutting a strip, I'm not tying it, so I'm going to decide about how big I want it. So I'm thinking about there. Again, I just eyeball, but I know you guys like measurements. So this is upside down. So this is about 8.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut a couple of those. This ribbon from Dollar Tree, oh my gosh, it's so good. I actually was worried like maybe I wouldn't find it all, and so I ordered a case of it, but I knew I was going to make a wreath, or at least a couple, so I knew I would use it all because like I said, it's only 3 yards. It doesn't go very far from Dollar Tree. So I can make this, I usually start with the darkest in the back. So you can make this however big you want. So I could do just this for my bow, or I could do a whole 3 more, make it even bigger. And so what I've seen, the messy bow, I mean, it's like just tons and tons and tons of strips, and then they just put them together and flip them out. But this is just simple version. I'm also going to dovetail them first. That makes it easiest. I'm just going to do a very slight dovetail. Man, I tell you what, I'm on camera and suddenly I can't do a dovetail. Where I do these all the time, but you know how it is if someone's watching you. I am a very good typer, if that's the correct way to say it. And as soon as my boss would come over behind my shoulder and he'd be like wanting me to type out something that he was dictating, I suddenly could not type. Like, just error, error, error. It's like, I promise I can type, but it's not like, you know, when somebody's watching you, suddenly you have to mess up a bunch. So yeah, when I can't edit this out, that's when I'm gonna mess up. But, alright. Oh, one more. I just love all the different patterns of ribbon. My other addiction is scrapbook paper. Again, probably because it's all the patterns. It's just so much cuteness. My next video is actually going to be from a paper pack, and I'm going to do a bunch of Dollar Tree projects, but adding the scrapbook paper. It's going to be cute. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take this ribbon. This ribbon is from, in case you want to know, from Michael's, in their Halloween section. It's normally $1.99, so I probably got it for $1. Okay, and then I'm just, again, gonna squeeze that middle section. This time I'm gonna go the other way. This time I'm gonna, instead of tying it so it ties in the back, this time I'm gonna tie it so it ties in the front, because I want this ribbon to show. This ribbon looks cute too. Okay, and as you can see, they're off a little, so I haven't pulled it super tight yet, so I'll just kind of pull if I have one that's wonky. Okay, that looks better. All right, they're looking good. Okay, so from here, I can just tie another knot so this hangs too. Or if I wanted, I could tie a little bow, just the same way that I tie the bows that I showed you previously. flip it. But this one I just want these to hang too. Okay, and then you just kind of spread them out a little bit like this. This is also good too if your ribbon isn't wired, because that non-wired ribbon is a little bit harder to work with because you can't really fluff it. And so this works really good with, like I said, if you just have like burlap or something that isn't, you know, they can't work with very well. Okay, so there I just have a simple, it doesn't really matter which one that goes, a simple addition to a project. And then again, you can see that if I were to make another one of these and also put it on here, you just have a bigger, more defined bow. Not defined, that's not what the word, just bigger. Okay, so then if you want to add a little fun, you could, let's see if I can get this guy to glue on somehow, because he's got kind of an empty belly. So I'm going to just put some glue. Kind of a big chunk. Kind of shove it up in his body. So that's a fun, again, like you saw that other one, I added a pumpkin to the center. And this is, like I said, you could have tied this in a bow. You can add more little strings too. Again, you're using whatever patterns you like. And that bow is done, and look how cute that will be to add to a sign. Let's pretend this is a sign clock thing. Let's see how cute that looks, like at the top, if this was something you made Halloween. Okay, I think I showed all the bows that I do. Of course, sometimes I just randomly come up with something to do. Here's one. I tore off a project, so it's kind of frayed. But again, this is the one where I just looped it and glued it. And then I put a little piece around the center, and then I added the tails after the fact. So you can see how you get a really nice looking bow by doing it that cheater way without actually tying it. Again, this ribbon, this is an old bow. It needs new tails. So I'm trying to think if I got everything. I hope so. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions about these bows. I'm hoping that I did them slow enough for you to follow along. And yeah, that's it. And I hope that you will look forward to making bows now. If you'd like to learn one of the over-the-top, just gorgeous bows, I suggest you go over and see Olivia at Olivia's Romantic Home, and you will be blown away by her big and beautiful bows. And I will link her account down below.